call this meeting to order. And Angie, can you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Bailey,
Here.
Commissioner Bunting,
Present.
Commissioner Lumberman,
Here.
Commissioner Smith,
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here. And Jan, I think you had something before we did the invocation.
Yes, I'd like to see us do a moment of silence for all the police officers. And also, it looks like firemen also are being set up. I hear that there was 2 firemen that was killed purposely. And so I would like to see us do a moment of silence for all of our service people.
Thank you. John, could you lead us in prayer tonight?
Heavenly Father, we ask that these proceedings tonight be conducted in a manner of respect and dignity toward all present. And we ask that you would bless us, that we would make our decisions in the best interests of the citizens of Gratiot County. In Christ's name, amen.
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 Will you stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Born and unborn. Okay, anyone have anything to add to the agenda?
The agenda.
Motion by Commissioner Bailey to approve the agenda. Do we have a second? Support by Commissioner Lemmerman. Any questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. Okay. Brief public comment. Any member of the public wish to make a comment? They could step forward. Anyone online that would like to make a comment? If you can unmute yourself and address the commission. Do we see anybody online then?
I do see one.
If you're online, just unmute yourself. If you're on a cell phone, I believe it's *6. All righty. We're looking at the consent calendar. Anyone like to remove anything from the calendar and speak on it separately? If not, we're looking for a motion to approve it.
Consent calendar.
Motion by Commissioner Bailey, second. Support by Commissioner Smith. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion passed. So we're up to you, Tracy.
Good evening, everyone. Like many of you, I attended the Township Association meeting at the Pine River Township Hall last Thursday evening. I had asked for time on the agenda, both to discuss ARP, but also to provide a report of our first year of cooperating with blight eradication. Given the press of time and because we have now scheduled a follow-up meeting with the townships on ARP funding, I made just brief mention of that and spent the bulk of the time on blight. I offered a reminder of why we undertook the program, what our complaint and enforcement process has been, and I showed some of the results of that effort. I'll be following up with a letter to all township supervisors, much as I had done at the beginning of all of this. I'll send it to the township supervisors as well as village officials, and soliciting folks' interest in participating in this program in year 2. I'm also going to hit township and village meetings during the month of February. There aren't actually, looking at my schedule, I don't think there are any this week, so that will begin next week. I do want to make a note that for the months of February and March, the Hamilton Township Board will not be meeting on the second Monday of the month, but rather we'll meet on Sunday, February 13th and Sunday, March 13th at noon. So a slight deviation from their regular meeting schedule. I'm working on an analysis of the final rule on ARP. I'll carry this out to the township since I have it finished, and I'll certainly be presenting this at the March 3rd meeting that we've set up with those folks over at the RESD. Next, no news, but just keeping this on our radar. I've previously reported that the MREC has been in negotiations with DTE to settle some of the wind turbine tax cases. MREC is the Michigan Renewable Energy Collaborative. We are at that end stage where both sides have to clean up some small details, and these can actually take some time. And so this has been my report for many months, but I will continue to say that we are within inches of something that will be rolling out for the townships and MREC members. We aren't counting our chickens yet, but we have reason to be very pleased with the way the discussions are progressing. It's our hope, of course, that Consumers Energy will follow suit in reaching out to discuss a fair resolution. I believe that they will do so, and certainly hopeful that they will. Haven't talked to you lately about the request for proposals for the classification and compensation study that you folks approved as a solicitation some weeks ago. That went out. We sent it directly to 6 vendors. I sent out an email to all of the county administrators in the state and asking just who they've used and what kinds of experiences they've had. These folks pointed me to a couple of firms with which I had not been familiar, and then I sent it out to those with which I am familiar. So the closing date for submission of proposals is March 1st. I've been quite busy here in admin. Chris is about a week away from having completed all of the audit work required of us at our end. So I know he's looking forward to that. It is tax season, so Sheila has sent out all of the W-2s. Becky has sent out all of the 1099s. So everything here is right on track. That is all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. Anybody have any questions for her?
Tracy, did you set a meeting up for the Township Association? Was that going to be the day after on the Wednesday after the next Tuesday meeting?
It's going to be on Thursday, March 3rd. That'll be 6 o'clock at the RESD building here in Ithaca.
Thank you.
You bet.
All righty. Next business commissioner committee reports. Mr. Lumberman, you want to start out?
Parks and Rec did get 2 requests for the that goes towards the $80,000 grant that they have set aside in their budget. And one request was deemed possible, the other request was deemed impossible. And the possible request was the city of Ithaca, and they have created a 3-person committee that's going to go out and walk the area, go talk to the city of Ithaca and ask some questions. And like most everything Parks and Rec does, I'm pretty impressed with the process by which they're going to get this figured out. They'll know by the end of March, I believe, whether they'll go through with it. It's not paddleball, but it's something like a
Pickleball.
What is it?
Pickle.
Yeah, which I had never heard of before. Pickleball.
Well, get with the times.
I know. The only other thing I have to report is, I believe you were all copied on the questions that we're asking of the airport committee, and we're specifically asking those of Eric Ripley. And he's gonna, some of the questions he did not know the answers to, so he's going to work with Matt Schooley to get those answers. And I'm expecting them any day. I really didn't get to check my email today, so maybe I have them. But as soon as I know the answers, I'll be sharing those with you guys.
All right, thank you, John. Commissioner,
I have a health department meeting. Of course, we had the township meeting. There's another meeting. It's going right out of my head though. I had it. But nothing out of the ordinary.
yeah, I would agree. The health department meeting was pretty much just ordinary and kind of a smaller turnout at the township meeting. I think the weather and the time of the year probably hurt it. Commissioner Bunning?
Yes, I went to the township meeting last, what was that, Thursday or Wednesday? Thursday. There was a good turnout, I thought. I was also at Bethany Township meeting. And the thing that I did that I thought, or what I was involved in, that I thought was very interesting and very, well, let me tell you about it. I am a parapro at the schools, and I was at Nickery School all of last week. And I was in the library. I'm with special, I help kids get caught up on some of their work that they're behind on. Anyway, one of the teachers brought all these children in. They're third graders and they're 9 years old, and they practiced doing the national anthem. Well, anyway, I found out that they were going to sing this last Friday night at the game in St. Louis. So I made a few phone calls, and I also was able to get a few other extra people there. There was somewhere around, I thought there'd be like 30, 40 kids that would be going. It looked more like there was 50, 60, maybe more than 60 kids. But they came in, these are 9-year-old kids, 8 and 9-year-old children. And I just want to give the credit to the teachers, because they took off that evening to come there to help bring the kids there, to get them lined up, to make sure that they were all ready to go and sing. Worked with the children, made sure they got there and back home again safely. And these are the extra things that our teachers do for our children. Not only that, I don't know the full song of the national anthem by heart, but these children were able to sing it, and they were wonderful. I took a video of it, and I think there was somebody else that took a video. It might even be on Facebook or YouTube, I'm not sure. I will check, but I just think that we hear a lot about teachers and about children, and yet we are sitting in Gratiot County with some of the best teachers who really, really care about their children and what they're teaching them. And I have to say that in Gratiot County, they teach them the Pledge of Allegiance of the flag, and they teach them history and a lot of extra things that they don't need to, but they want the children to know the history of the United States. So I just want to say that this evening, that I was really at the right place at the right time, and really honored to be able to be a part of that, to just be there to listen. And so that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Jan. I was also there. They did a fine job. Commissioner Smith?
I attended by Zoom the Fulton Township Windmill Planning Mission meeting last week. It went on until about 10:30 Friday. And it was a lively meeting. I think they're gonna move forward. I believe they're gonna have another meeting here. They haven't set the date. I haven't heard the date yet. But Fred will give you more information on that.
All right, thank you.
I have a quick question about the health department. I have heard that in Isabella County, now when real estate transactions are made, that the well and septic need to be inspected, and that the seller needs to set aside money if there needs to be upgrades to the well and septic. And that Isabella County is, of course, has a different health board than what we have. If such a thing was to happen here in Gratiot County, would you fellas be telling us about it beforehand?
We've already went through this a couple of years ago
Yeah.
Okay,
and was decided that it wasn't a good fit for the county.
okay.
But yeah, they've done this for a few years up there.
It was probably 3 years. They did it in Shiawassee County too. When I was on the health board, we looked at that
But it just didn't,
and property transfers and stuff like that. Shiawassee's like that also, but you got to fix it before the sale goes through.
Right.
That happened really around 20 years ago here, because that's the reason I became a county commissioner, was because of the septic tanks. And that's when they had to put the mounds in. Yeah. And they did go through the whole county. There's a lot of people that do have the mounds. Some of them worked just fine, and some of them they had a lot of problems with. But I'm surprised that everybody else, I thought back then it was through the state that they had to do this. That's why I've been real surprised to hear that now there's other counties that's going through it. And I've been out of the pizzeria 12 years. It was way before that. Well, 2010. That's when I came on the board. So it would have been around 2008, 2009 that we were involved in that.
It's pretty much up to the local jurisdictions, I would say. I don't think there's any appetite from the state to put anything in statewide.
Thank you.
Okay, let's move on to new business. And first thing up is the library millage review. Jessica Little can handle it. Please come up to the podium. That's the best way to be picked up by the mic.
Hi, thank you. Sorry, I am not good at any type of public speaking, so I prefer to answer questions but let me just start by saying the millage, I was involved 8 years ago when we initially asked the county to consider putting it on the ballot, and thankfully passed. It has been very critical to providing funding for all of the libraries. 8 years ago, a lot of us had cut hours, cut staff, cut services, and the passage of the millage has allowed us to go back to more normal, in many cases, increase hours, increase staffing. The last 2 years have been a little unusual with the pandemic. Obviously, we were shut down for about 3 months. There are different projects that we had planned that have been put on hold for one reason or another related to it. But it has been very critical to our operations. And I think we do provide a needed service. We provide educational programs for the kids. We work with the schools. Many of us have meeting rooms that we provide for nonprofit usage for free, or for public meetings, even if it isn't specifically nonprofit. Yeah, so any questions?
do you have, or the ability to tell us, you get to up to what, 5 mils?
Yes.
And so that about what? You know what that is?
I think it's on the summary sheet, isn't it?
I think the last time was it around 800,000?
It's a little high.
Or what it specifically for one library it was and collectively. Even though I look at it every year, I just did not look at it right before this meeting.
Well, this is kind of what we're discussing.
152.
And I believe it's on the last page. There's a summary of all the libraries.
There, I just couldn't find it. And So the millage started in what, 2014?
Yes.
And since that time, you guys have collected a little over what? It'd be about $4 million or a little over $5 million?
Yeah.
Because what you got now is a lot more than what you got back in 2014. Because of the differential in the way millages are figured. And I can't tell you that number right offhand, but I can't find it right now.
It is more. The first year of the millage, the wind turbines were already in place.
Yeah.
So the first year, it was not collected countywide because two of the cities and one of the townships two of the cities had already collected a summer millage. And so it was not collected at the county level for the first year because of that. So there was a large difference between first year and second year.
Okay.
This is kind of off the subject, but other than Alpha and Ithaca, the rest of the libraries are providing some kind of internet Band-Aid solution to like extending internet out to their parking lots. Or
Yes, I
or
believe.
providing hotspots.
Yes. At my library, the Wi-Fi extends beyond the parking lot. It goes out to about halfway across our block. So people can use it in the parking lot. They can use it at the gazebo. We've got a picnic table and benches out there. And then we do also provide hotspots.
Had there been a request for this? Or had people been asking? So because
The hotspots people have been asking for. The Wi-Fi is something most libraries have provided for a long time. So we've provided the Wi-Fi, I don't even know how long, a very long time. Some of the other libraries have expanded it in the last 2 years because after we were shut down, it didn't do a lot of good to provide Wi-Fi within the building because they couldn't come in. So it was extended. In many cases, they extended outward or enhanced it so that people could use it from the parking lot.
like after hours. Or
Mhm. Yeah.
I use your library or.
Yeah, I will frequently see people in the parking lot before we open, after we close, using it. And even throughout the day, I know more than one person that because of the expense of having their own internet, they've canceled the service and they just come and use our Wi-Fi. Plus, we have people visiting from out of town that will stop in. Like if they need to print airline tickets and stuff. Frequently, the libraries is the one place in town you can come and print off something. You know, if you have business and you don't keep a printer at home or all you use is your phone for everything and you have no way to print, you can come to the library and you can print from the library for very minimal fee.
I saw on several of the reports, there was, they talked about total customers served,
Mhm.
but they did not break it down between physical customers who walked in and people who were downloading from the library website, I would take it.
Okay,
It was bunched together. And I would be interested in the walk-in traffic. Like it is the walk-in traffic, and I know COVID makes that a hard, because I'm sure the walk-in traffic is down because of COVID.
yes.
But I would be interested, like, are the libraries serving more of a internet type function where they are a web service for downloading things? Or are they?
We still see most of, in St. Louis, and other libraries can speak up, most of our traffic is still physical. Most of it is people coming in, using the building, using our computers, using our books, things like that. Our foot traffic is down. We don't have counter, we don't have a way to get an exact count, but we all report every year to the Library of Michigan statistics. And I think last year I estimated we saw about somewhere between 10,000 and 11,000 visits. In a typical year, that number would be closer to more like 28, 30,000. Would you like to hear from some of the other libraries?
Is it similar, a similar type of situation with the other libraries? Okay.
I use the library over in St. Louis a lot, and I can tell you that a lot, if you've not been there, it's a very nice library. And you can probably help on this. There's usually a lot of people there using the computers, because can't they go in there and look for jobs and stuff like that?
Yep.
And because that's what they told me one time when I was looking for a job.
We have high-speed internet access. We've got word processing. We have staff that are trained to assist. A lot of stuff legally, we can't necessarily help with, like filling out forms and things. But we all know how to help people get on job sites, form resumes. If I will have people that ask specific questions, they'll be trying to apply for like a job at Walmart or a job at McDonald's or something, and they'll get stuck in the form and they just ask us for help, and we come over and help them with whatever it is so that they can continue on with the application.
Well, I really appreciated the presentation of information, because like I didn't know that some libraries provide access to ancestry.com or even allow people to go like create a membership with ancestry.com through the library.
And maybe because I don't, but we have two here who can speak more to that. If you have any specific questions.
No, I just thought that was amazing that service was provided. My only other thing that I did not understand is the penal fees. What is that? And why is it? Because I think in the report, it was described as very variable.
Yes.
What is that?
So the penal fines, according to the state constitution, was one of the primary ways the state was going to fund libraries. So it's my understanding that when there is a penalty levied, for instance, if you have a speeding ticket, there is a certain amount of that is considered a penal fine. And then part of it is for court costs, and part of it, I think there's like administrative fees and different things bundled into it, but a percentage of that is considered penal fines. And then anything that is classified as penal fines is divided up among the libraries based on contracts that were set in place I think in this county, they're set in place in the 80s.
Prior to the millage, was that the main source of funding?
For 5 of the 6 libraries prior to the millage, that was.
Elma had its own.
Yes, for the other 5, that was the primary source of funding. And when I became director in 2008, we were at like a high for penal fines. Our share of it that year was like around 100, and I think the highest I saw was 120. And the year that we were back when we were struggling it was down to about between 80 and 90,000. So it had dropped in 6 years. It had dropped about, I think, 40%. At the same time that obviously other costs were rising because our expenses don't go down.
Right. Nobody's does.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. That's all I have.
I had some questions looking at the summary sheets here. Alma must have their own separate millage.
Yes.
Okay, do you know what that millage is?
They have
Additional half.
Half mil,
have a half
the city.
rating, and then they have one for debt.
Is there a debt for that building too?
There's 2 city villages. Curtis is online. Yeah, Curtis stands.
Okay, all right. And the other question, looking at Alma, I was just wondering why there's a deficit spending last year.
The reason, Curtis, do you want to take that?
Unmute himself.
There you go.
There
You
you
guys
go.
hear me?
Yep.
Okay, so the reason that we were shown a net deficit last year is that our commission elected to pull part of our funding came from a contribution from our local unit. And our commission decided to pull that last year. So we did not receive, we typically received in the past, I think in around 175,000 as a contribution from the city of Alma. And last year we did not receive any contribution. So that would have been pretty much took us from a positive to a net deficit in the unrestricted cash.
Okay, you guys are addressing that this year, or did they put some funding back?
It is, we will be, it has not been officially yet, it is on our agenda.
Okay. And do you know what the Is this the outstanding debt on that building, like 930,000 I'm reading here?
Correct.
Correct? Okay, all right. And how many years is that to be paid on?
I think it's either 2024 or 2025 is the last year of the. payment.
Okay. All right. And then some of the other libraries, I've noticed most of the libraries are increasing their fund balance other than what the situation in Alma. And I'm looking, quite a few are depending on increases for enhanced services. That seems to be a common addition there. Is that being set aside, or you're spending on extra services, additional services? Like Ithaca's showing 325,000. Let's see, Seville, 150,000. St. Louis, 590,000.
And I, in the narrative part of it, a lot of us have explained projects that we are saving towards or had been working on that were temporarily put on hold.
The majority are saving for either a significant capital project or enhancements. They're worried about the windmill money going away. Those kinds of things. The
Right,
goal
well-
in most of those cases is not to issue that.
Well, hopefully we'll find out about the windmills soon. We're anticipating something coming.
And then I would assume that a lot of these places will move forward. I know at St. Louis, we're planning the original building, 1994, is that right?
97.
Called for an additional expansion of the building that we couldn't afford to issue debt for at that time. We obviously don't want to issue debt for that, but if we can obviously save for that without issuing the debt and still that transition that appears is still needed.
Right.
My quick question is how was it, and probably a long time ago, the county millage decided how it's split? I couldn't see that in here. Is it per population or what, how many people you serve, or
Yes.
is it, you have like in Alma, they have so many people they serve, and so if you really live in Breckenridge, you can't go to the Alma library?
No, when the millage was established, it was one of the things that we set up. If the millage was passed at the county level, that would all provide service to any county resident. So back when the millage was established, a contract was signed between the county and all of the libraries that divided the funding up based on the penal fine contract. So we already had existing contracts in place for service. That's,
Percentages were on the penal contracts, that's percentage from windmill money or from tax money.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
So the percentage that was on the penal fines, then you would get the same percentage on county tax money that was left.
Basically, yes. Yep. Yeah. So, but funding is based on what the state, to serve based on those, but we do provide service to anybody. So we have a lot of patrons that will use multiple libraries throughout the county, especially if they like work in Ithaca and live in St. Louis or, in Alma, things like that. And then we do all work together. We meet up, we coordinate. I think we probably all have each other's websites memorized. So if somebody comes into my library and asks for something we don't have, we will check first whether they can get it somewhere else in the county, be it a physical item or a service that they're looking for.
Over the time has, for the smaller libraries, and I'll be honest, I don't know a lot about this, but over the time, has the smaller libraries kept up with funding and stuff like that with the county money? I mean, is the balance of how it's split?
If you could come out because we can't hear under that. No, come
Come
on.
up here.
The mic's up here.
Sorry. They can't hear us.
So I'm with Seville Township Library. I know we're probably one of the smallest, maybe excluding Ashley. So I know that since taking the position, I've heard that there have been some times where funding hasn't been enough. There have been some times when they weren't sure they were able to provide the best services or the fullest extent of the services that were possible to patrons. Things have since turned, especially since we got our township millage, which lasted from about 2012 to 2014. And then with the help of this millage, we've been able to expand our services, our hours, our staff a lot more. I think it was until I got in September of 2020, we had never had a color printer before. So that was one of the first purchases that I made coming into this position. And it's different for like between myself and Ashley because Ashley is a school library, whereas I am a PA 164 township library. So things work a little bit differently between us, but from what I've seen in the past, there have definitely been some issues with full extent services, programming, collections, you name it. Books are expensive, and then you want to add on computers and 3D pens and all that sort of fun stuff to bring people in. But I do think that the millage has helped out a lot. It's opportunity for smaller libraries to fully serve their communities. Because in rural communities, you find often that people don't have access to fax machines or phones or Wi-Fi reliably. And it's easier for them to come to a smaller centralized rural library than to say someone go over to St. Louis because they may not have a reliable car and the closest place may be the library. So
I guess really my question is for the smaller libraries, the split whenever they did that with the penal fines, if Ashley got $1 and your township got 50 cents, is that split still good enough in place with the 5 mills of county money?
I think
Your split it enhances the bigger libraries, I would understand, but is there enough there for the smaller ones?
I would say so, yes. From what I've seen, and again, I am still a little new to the position, I believe our penal fines were about 20,000, 20 up in there. So it's a good chunk and it does help additionally to what we use, but primarily our source of funding does come from the millage. That is primarily what I think of when I have my budget. And the penal fines, they help out. But we sort of, when money comes in, it gets dictated. Our strategic plan is attached at the back of the pamphlet that Jessica so wonderfully put together. So we will be using, we use all of it, but I feel like what we're getting in penal fines is good enough for where we're at. I couldn't say what things.
I'm not really talking about the penal fines. I'm just talking about how the percentages. These 5 mills, I'm not even sure how many libraries there are, but if there's 5 of them and the big library got 2 mills and you guys got 1/4 of a mill, is that enough over the time since this was done? Is that enough to keep the smaller ones afloat? That's, I guess, was should there be adjustment to, and I don't even know how you adjust, fine percentages, but I mean, is there enough there for the smaller ones?
So the penal fine contracts are based on population of your course.
Your community, okay.
And
Do they ever adjust?
you can, if you want to, you can go in and speak with the township about changing the split, but I believe the originals were both basically drawn along school district lines.
I see.
So like my library, we have all of St. Louis is considered our primary service area. And then we get, I think it's 60% of Pine River Township, 60% of Bethany Township, 60% of Jasper Township, and 25% of Emerson Township. So that is approximately what it was my understanding that when they were set up, although that was well before my time, it was based on school district boundaries.
I see. Okay.
And I believe correct me if I'm wrong, we get Alma and Seville, we have Sumner Township penal fines as well, yes. So we've split that, and I don't know when that came into effect. Before.
It's been there for a
Yeah.
long.
So,
That percentage is gonna. Okay.
Yeah, the way I understand it, Sam, and I've asked the same question. I asked it of Chris. He says it's based on population of the district. In other words, this district library in the city of Ithaca, and take in the city of Ithaca School District. And that population, that's the percentage that they would get out of the millage, and so on and so forth. That's how it currently works. Yeah. And just to put a backstory on that, the penal fines. Several years ago, when we had a robust state presence within our county, they collected a tremendous amount of money, and it's all gone through the district court. So the libraries back 20 years ago were not, they had to be careful, but they would get a substantial amount in penal fines. Penal fines is the ticket that you pay at the court. So it's up to the judge then at the end of the year to take all that money and they divide it up. The state gets so much, the county gets so much, and the libraries get so much. And it all depends on who the judge is, how much money you got. That's how that worked. But over the years, we always see a state police car and, you know, it's an endangered species because we don't have them in our county anymore. And they certainly aren't doing traffic stops. All right. So it all, and the sheriff has said this many times. My guys can't do and sit on roads and write tickets. They're answering complaints, which the state police used to do. And then our guys could write tickets, but we can't do that anymore. And the sheriff has told us many times in these meetings how they are, all their time is basically on complaints. And so the enforcement part of it, and you can attest to the library's got the penal fines, they're not very big anymore compared to what they used to be. And so this is why we switched, and I think smartly so, over to a millage system, which helps the libraries. You know, so that's, I just want to let you know the backstory on that because that was just the way that the cities, the towns, the Ashley School and all that would kick in a little bit, but they couldn't afford it. So you never had a library that could do all the things that a library can do today. They would struggle with it. They would struggle to buy books. They would struggle to buy technology. And so today they have a millage system and it works very well. All right. And, you know, I don't want anybody to think that you're coming here to, you know, get something taken away from you. That's not what we're here for. We're here to find out what you do and how you do it. Right. And that's kind of like the responsibility of the county commissioners is that we said, yes, you can have a millage, but then we're starting to follow up on what you do. Because we had no clue. In a lot of ways, we know a lot of the things, but we don't know the ins and outs. And the taxpayer wants to know, they want to give you what you need. And I don't think there's a taxpayer in the world that doesn't want to give any entity what they need. It's how much do you need? That's what we're talking about. And so when you get these questions, it's a matter of how you want to do these things, and that's a wonderful thing, and it's great for the community. But at the same time, we have to be aware that we have a responsibility to all the taxpayers. So we got to know where their tax dollars are going and how they're being spent. So that's why we're asking all these entities, the millage entities, to come in and talk to us. So you can go on record of what you do. So, you know, that's what we're talking about here. So that's it.
Just real quick, and I really rest assured, we're not looking at taking a nickel away from you. And if we I believe if there's a problem with the library, we'll hear it if taxpayers are paying, help fund these. We'll be the first ones to hear it I've never heard that in 5, 6 years. I mean, the libraries are all fine and I've never heard a problem on any of them. So I just really want to reiterate that we're just looking at where county tax dollars are going. That's all. We're not looking to say, hey, you need 4 mills or you need 2 mills, or we're not looking at doing any of that. So we're just looking at it, and it's like I didn't know how the splits were done and things like that. That's all. And I appreciate your time.
And we have to, and when a taxpayer asks me, well, what do they do? I feel I can't answer the question. So when you come in and tell me what's going on and I get these reports, then I got some way to tell the taxpayers, well, they're doing they're doing this, they're doing that. We need to know that. It's just our responsibility. I think it's the responsibility of a county commissioner to know what's going on in the county and with all these millages that we have. And we seem to anymore have a lot of millages. We do. And it's not just the county millages, but you got school millages. You got, with your cities, got all sorts of millages. I mean, so that's how the taxpayers today pay to get things done. That's all we're asking. What's going on? Just like a friendly chat, what's going on? How do you do it? Let us understand how things kind of operate. That's all.
I just wanted to be clear on these numbers here. I'm looking at like the Ithaca sheet and the St. Louis sheet under improvements and enhanced services. Like 325,000 for Ithaca's in that line and 590,000 for St. Louis is in that line. That's a budget number, correct? So you're spending money out of that budget number. If you're not spending that entire amount, I'm assuming it's going to fund balance, correct? We're not setting this money aside somewhere.
That is a component of fund balance, and it is being accumulated for building projects in St. case so that we don't have to issue any debt. And I apologize, I don't remember what it was planning to use. For, some of that is, we changed it from capital improvements to enhancements of services. Not that it was necessarily adding a wing or whatever, but they were increasing technology, and unfortunately technology costs money over time too. It's not just the initial outlay, but
okay, well,
expenses of that.
I would think for the taxpayer, you should list that is in addition to the fund balance that you're accumulating money for at the X purpose. I would think that should be in here.
I think of any budget, if you get X amount of dollars, you don't use it all and you get another budget next year.
Yeah, I don't know that that's
Projects, the library, didn't they just like do the bottom basement or something? I mean, I'm sure that stuff's not cheap. And I'm a believer if you can do it and pay for it, don't have to come and ask for the money.
Right.
Kudos to you.
But I would think that should be in the fund balance. That shouldn't be set aside in another account is what I'm hearing. It is, okay.
That's why there's that.
Okay, all right. I misunderstood you. I thought you were saying that there was a separate account. Okay, very good. All right. You know, if you spent 300,000 of that 325,000, then at 25,000 is increased the fund budget.
Fund balance.
The balance, fund balance. Thank you.
I have one last question.
This is where it all started with your question.
I should get out of here.
Somewhere in the body of this report, there was that some funds needed to be held because of a possible big box retailer lawsuit against libraries.
So not specifically, so apparently I didn't make that clear. When the millage passed, we were hearing about settlements where big box stores, that was how it was described in the articles, would argue to the tax tribunals that they were overpaying in taxes because the store was specialized and therefore should not be valued at what it was being valued at. And they were being awarded the settlements, and then libraries were having to repay funds that they'd previously taken in millages. And in some cases, they didn't have the funds sitting there because they'd already spent it because they were retroactively requiring the libraries. So then when we became aware that, well, there's the wind turbine industry is basically doing the same thing, asking for it to be lowered and in fact, for part of the money to be refunded. Some of us, I got quite worried that we would go spend all this money and then we'd suddenly not have any money coming in and not be able to repay if it went against us. So the big box was just, you know, when it started, we were aware that there were tax tribunals that awarded in favor of industry, and libraries had ended up in trouble because they'd spent funds they now had to reimburse. And then we heard about the wind turbines. So at least for me, it made me very cautious with my expenditures because that.
Was that something that was?
Yes, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I mean, when they build a Walmart or something, the next day after it's up, they're in the tax.
Mostly affected
We want
larger.
the taxes, yeah. Yeah, I have dollar stores are the same, Dollar General, so. Yeah, but I say kudos to you because we're telling townships to do that or get new windmills, saying, you know something, hang on to 10% of your money, don't spend it all the first year. You might have to give some back. I'm telling our townships, if it was me, I'd hang on to 10 points or whatever.
Hopefully in the next few months, we'll know.
And we'll know that when they get it settled, you know, it'll be done, and then you'll know for sure, but you guys are a little ahead of the curve, the ones that are holding money.
It's gonna be a certain amount, but I think in fairness, you'll have the money to be able to pay.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
If you have any other questions, I'm sure any one of us, we love talking about library service and what we do. So
All right, very good. Next thing, MSU, Bill, you're up.
Thank you. Okay. So our partner is Greater Gratiot Economic Development. That's a 0.5 mil, and of that, our portion is 0.15. Okay, just so we were on the same page on that. So that's range from, and I'm just looking at the numbers that Chris provided, but from 153,770 back in 2013, and the 2021 from that was 240,548. So that's what's come in to less than 100,000 increase since 2013. And we give an annual report. I'm here at least once a year telling you what we do in our office, and I'll answer specific questions about that. But the bottom line is we're extremely appreciative of the funding since historically, and don't ask me to give the date, but at the turn of the 20th century, I believe, when the legislature passed the law allowing local boards and commissions to enter into partnerships with cooperative extension, that's been that local connection, that local funding source. That local funding source, which in this instance is at 0.15 mil, whether it's provided by the taxpayers or directly, or provided by the commissioners through the general fund, allows that local operation to take place. And so that local operation then leverages those dollars to bring about the whole statewide network of MSU extension educators and program instructors. So that's the basic mechanics of how that works. So it's critical to have that local funding. That local funding funds our office currently, and it's gone through various iterations over the years, but currently we're at our separate location. We're paying rent in a building that's owned by the city of Elma. So that provides our housing, our phones, our office equipment and workstations for the staff. And then it provides support staff to support the work that we do. And they really are a conduit to much of the information. So they're very critical. And we have 1.5 support staff. It also provides basic 4-H program coordination. And that takes place regardless of whether or not that position is filled. And I say that because Chris Thompson had to leave for personal reasons, and we've have that vacancy, but that position is closer. We're going to be filling it. But all the time that he's not been there, 4-H supervising educator has been filling that role. The support staff's been filling that role. So my point is that even if a position is vacant, those services are still being accessed and offered. Okay, so that's the basics of what comes in the millage is 4-H operation, local operations, including support staff, and then the assessment, which provides for the educators and program instructors that are the network, both in the office that locally, within the district, which is 6 counties that surround us, and then throughout a statewide network. So we have access to all of that education for agriculture, for health and nutrition, for youth development, and for community foods in the environment. So that's what those dollars are paying for. So the big crux of that, if you look at those revenues that are coming in, the biggest portion is the assessment. And so throughout the years, that's gone up roughly 2%. Sometimes it stayed the same. In 2013, I'm just looking at that number, it was 71,000 for that basic assessment to provide all that. And in 2021, it's 85,000. So not a huge increase over that many years for that basic assessment. So the basic assessment, the additional 0.5 of 4-H to make sure that that's a full-time coordination, and then the office support. Everything else is to keep the lights on, the indirect costs, which that's gone up and down, but there's this considerable amount now, but essentially a pretty simple budget. My philosophy since I took over in 2018 was to be and I do appreciate Chris's work on this because I had a hard time getting a hand on what exactly was coming in. And I think that, from 2013 to 2018, I've got the numbers, but I'm not sure if they were done quite the same. And I don't know how long Chris has been there, but I basically look at it and say, all right, can we fund our basics? And so that's what I'll budget for. Some things that I've wanted to do. Okay, so as far as upcoming projects, in the county agreement with us each year, we talk about if we were to lose one of our support positions because of resigning or whatnot, that we would replace that with an MSU employee. That costs us much more because we're taking on all those legacy costs and whatnot. And so I don't have enough money to do that, and I haven't yet. It would take about 68,000 the last time through to fill one of those positions. And I would have to let go of the other 0.5. But it's been critical to have that support staff position, especially during the pandemic, because they're what kept our office open and everybody accessible. Even when people work at home, I was able to give them laptops. And so we were able to keep on running. So that's the basics. I hope I laid that out so it makes sense. And then any questions that y'all have.
My understanding that that's the old Secretary of State building in Elma.
That is correct.
Your rent's not too bad.
Not too bad, 500 a month.
But you have to do the repairs, right?
That is correct. And that's another ask that I've got. And I put it on the budget 2 years ago and kept it in, but we just didn't do it because of the shutdown. Right now, I have those support staff alternating in the office and then working from home with a laptop because it's just not, it's too crowded in that front. And so we want to do something with moving a wall and putting a divider up. So that's one of the projects I've had on the list. And I don't know if the cost of that is going to skyrocket now or not. We're asking for all the contractors to give us new bids.
I would say it's going to be pretty expensive for at least a couple of years. Because everybody's got all this money to spend for improvements and stuff.
Good question.
The only question I had was that this is going to come up for a renewal.
Correct.
And on page 52, I wondered if that was a mistype. If you look on page 52 and go down as far as it says, purpose by, I'm just going to do with the one line, purpose by the leveling of an additional property tax of up on to 1/2. Was that a misprint? That shouldn't have an additional. It should say levy property tax up to.
And that's in the,
I think, aren't we gonna handle this under item 4 of the
Okay,
new business?
we can wait till that.
correct.
Why don't we cover this right now?
Want to do it now or?
I mean, let's just finish with the
Okay.
millage review, if that's all right.
Okay, yeah,
I have that same question.
okay.
Anything else?
I think we're good.
Good. I appreciate it.
All righty. Next, Jim, you handling things? And you call for reinforcements.
Then you got that glassy look in your eyes, then Casey takes over.
I can't see with them or without them. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, I appreciate the chance to come over and just update you. I think we pretty much update everybody. It seems like all the time, but I guess it's a little more formal base that we get into. The history a little bit with Greater Gratiot. It started in about 1978. And by a group, I think Don always talks about the unemployment rate was a little over 20%, 21. And I figured needed to do something. And for a long time, it was funded half basically by municipalities, half by private donations. That worked well for quite a while until the county ran into some pretty severe financial troubles and suddenly couldn't keep that balance going forward. So did some investigation, found out there was an old Public Act 88, that allowed the commission to actually levy dollars for market. Hurt ourselves with that MSU and that. That went along for about 4 years. Became controversial because of the levying millage without the vote of the people. Decided it made most sense that we just do it as a pure millage. So in 2013, we got together and that's when we levied the first time the millage for it together. That was a 5-year millage. We then came back in 2018 and adjusted it to a 4-year, even years along that line of it. So we couldn't call it a renewal in 2018, although the same dollar amounts being levied. And then again, now we're the 4-year window will be this August for ourselves again. We've always asked for 0.5, half a mil. We've never levied the full amount. We've levied 0.45 split, as Dave mentioned, that it's 0.3 for Greater Gratiot, 0.15 for MSU. So we've kind of handled it along that lines. You can see the dollars in here. You know, our net millage revenue definitely has climbed to, in part to a lot of the work that we've done going forward. We've got 2 of our wind friends sitting here with Fred and Jory there. It seems like I've been spending a lot of evenings with these guys recently, but they've been doing a lot of work out there with another project. In any case, you can also see that our total revenue continues along. Expenses, basically, it's about inflation when you come across the line. If you spread it across here, it's a little over 2% a year. It's where basically our expenses and actually revenue is pretty close to total revenue, a little over 2%. And then what we talk about our operating cash balance, which we've grown that since 2013, a little more than doubled it, with the idea that one of these days we're going to have to make another investment in real estate for industrial development as we go forward. County has one large piece in here that we work with, which is in Alma, which we refer to as road. It's a little over 150 acres. The land that was given to the city of Alma by Valero. Had some issues with it too, with the makeup of the site, what can actually be done on the site because it was given with some deed restrictions in it. Has a couple of gas lines that go right through the middle of it and some other things, but it's a workable piece of property that we definitely have. But that's the only piece that we're north of 100 acres on. South Industrial Park that was developed quite a long time ago in Ithaca has about 60 acres now, but it's in different parcels as we go, which will work a lot for different sized companies. It worked good for Polstra. That was the main one that landed there now. And was able to take Paulstra, lever it out, and build out some of the development infrastructure that was needed in there. But as we see, and we're seeing now a lot of inquiries coming from the Michigan Economic Development. We're the conduit for the Michigan Economic Development Corporation in the county. So we see the different proposals that are coming through, but in general, most of the time you need 100+ acres to be in the game of it. You need to be very close to proximity to a highway, sometimes rails involved with it. And then you have to go down through the whole line of how much water, sewer, electrical, gas, everything that you can provide them. Most all of them want it, obviously pollution free from that standpoint. So you have to provide that type of a scenario. So that's what our cash balance has been growing towards, the feeling that we're going to have to partner with somebody. Breckenridge still has a fair chunk of land left. They've just recently obtained a grant to help expand their industrial park on around and loop it. So they have some land, which is a good piece of it there from that standpoint. It's located on 46, which is a state thoroughfare, but most larger pieces that you're really going to deal with are going to need to be closer to 127. Reality is for transportation, but choices are good, and frankly, you can't knock what's happening in Breckenridge over there with Integrity, the tool company over there. Two of the wind companies, Invenergy and DTE, both have maintenance facilities there. DTE doubled theirs, and Invenergy's is the one right out front, the really nice looking building. So that's been good, and they've also picked up some other businesses in there that have worked along. So the name of the game is choices. You have to be able to provide choices, and then on top of that, be able to show them that you have employment in the area, that you have, I would say, friendly zoning, those type of things that help a company come in and go forward with it, and all the other pieces that come together with it. So that's, in Greater Gratiot, the part that I like about the millage funding is that a lot of our counterparts around the state are more private funded than they are public funded. Some will have some degree of public funding that will be in an agreement with state and county, but they'll also have significant donors. Well, significant donors, when somebody's writing a big check to you, it's just the way it goes. You're looking to them. My case, we're all the way across the county in that. I mean, we helped Middleton put their Dollar General in. We've worked with a lot of the downtowns now. We manage the Brownfield Authority for the county, which has been really helpful in some of our downtown expansion. So we kind of ebb and flow with what's the best direction for economic development. And I dare say that everybody has their own definition of what economic development is. And so we try to fill that role as best we can. Staff of 3 people. I'm the young guy in the group of the thing, the experienced group sitting back there in the crowd on it. Casey has been a lifelong resident of Gratiot County, went down to college, got her on as an intern, and she was able to stay and go forward. And it's a valuable piece of that. And we were able to steal Shelley from the county, which we were happy to do.
Not happy about that.
Yeah, I know.
Never got over it.
I'm sure he did. So in any case, it's been a great standpoint. So it's a staff of 3 of us that manage it and go forward with it. And obviously open to everybody's input. Appreciate everybody that does give us input forward.
Jim, isn't Gratiot one of the oldest economic development companies or organizations in the state?
The olders.
That's what I was
I
thinking.
mean, the big hitters are the Grand Rapids is a huge one. Lansing has a big one in there. Saginaw's is relatively good size, and then Detroit's carved up by a lot of them that we have. We're seeing some expansion where you're starting to see the Right Place, which is the big one over in Grand Rapids, is starting now to take on other counties. They're up to about 5 or 6 counties in which they will come in and provide economic development resources for you, but it's not the same as having your own organization. I mean, I don't want to say an underling, that's probably not a good term for somebody, but let's face it, whether it's a local owned bank or a bank owned out of the area, makes a huge difference where your headquarters is. And I feel it's the same way with economic development. We're focused on Gratiot County. Now, there are times, for instance, the Pine River Wind Project that went across both county lines, we were very active in that because we had a dog in that fight. And we work closely with Isabella County just because of so much of the commerce goes back and forth. We do some to the south of us, we work any direction that really works for us as we need to. But our focus is still Gratiot County.
Right. And I guess I was just saying that Gratiot County Development, is known in a wide area. It has a very good reputation and name.
I do, and there's been a lot of work. I'd be remiss not saying Don Schurer, who ran it for years and years, developed a statewide rapport for that. And I've done my best to follow in those shoe steps of it to go forward with us and make us we're I want to say lean and mean little organization, but we're well known, and we had the governor visiting a month and a half ago to just pick Gratiot County to come through and show some projects with it. So we come one, we take them all as we come through here, but are proud to be able to show what our county's doing and going forward with it. Happy to answer any other questions. I think all of you know that we do follow our tax track here, that fortunately Casey's here and does this for me every year. But in any case, we have through last year, it's $57 million that we have collected through our wind project. So, I know we've worried about settlements and some of the things going forward, and they are going to depreciate. There's no doubt about it. That's just the way the schedule is going to be. We're going to have discussions about how quickly they depreciate, but they do. But you still have to realize that, we've got north of $1 billion in this, and it's a huge money. It's a huge proposition. And you pulled this is the greatest problem to have, is to just come in and talk about, hey, these kind of dollars are out there, and just making sure that they're being used wisely. That's a great thing versus other areas, and we can draw circles around them not too far away from us. If I look to the west, to say that they don't have these kind of issues because they don't have the dollars. So the renewable energy market for our county has been.
Well, I think the windmill is a testament to not only the county, but for Greater Gratiot leadership on that. Do you recall the first wind farm was North Star? How many windmills did we have there?
The first group that we actually put in, George, so happens.
The first ones was Wheeler and
133
Was 33.
was the first group that.
So projecting into the future, we got how many? 400 and what?
If our last project, I shouldn't say if, that's not good. When our last project gets done, we'll be at 417. So that's it. And then from there, there's no doubt that we will be looking at some solar because it's there. You have substations, you have the connectivity. It makes sense. You're going to do solar. So there'll be continued renewable energy that we have out there. And so
my point is that all is not lost here. We started out with a little over 100. We got over 400 now. The depreciation level started way back then. So they're going to go down to here. And then you got several of them layered, and they're all going to come down slowly. But having that one layer there, now you got 4 or 5. So don't panic, it'll be fine. It's just a matter of settling out with what we have to do and go on with business. But we've put ourselves in a position as a county to be one of the forerunners for a long time to come.
Oh, yeah. There's other projects too that we get involved with, such as ZFS, which is a giant one. That one, again, much more deferral to the tax things, but it'll come on. I think with your advice to me, it says, when we looked at, Polstra, when it went in out there, it was in a renaissance zone and there wasn't any tax on it for the first 15 years. Well, they're long gone and now they are. So the ones you get way outlast the tax incentives that you incur for it up front. It allows the company to make that investment, but then the spin out in the long-term survivability of it's huge. And CFS will be here long after any tax incentives are gone.
Long after we're gone.
Well, let's keep it.
Well, I could talk about
Just talk every day.
was just gonna ask, you said you're seeing the companies that are looking for places, looking to locate. Is Gratiot County missing any opportunities? Are we hindered because we don't have that other industrial park?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say injured because we don't have it. I think it's something that we need to keep our eye on to develop it. If somebody, Hoffman Road's site something will go there. Then we won't have anything to get into it. So we are going to have to be there. I wouldn't call us injured by it. I would just say the more possibilities you can provide somebody, John, the better chance you have of landing. I can tell you the other thing that's still one that's in my crawl is not having 127 all the way completed. That still is a problem for us north of St. John's. And I mean, you know, and for a lot of reasons, but for one of the reasons, that's why you saw that big cheese plant land where it landed, right into the freeway. So it's one of those we can't forget. And as we talk about infrastructure, building out those type of things, that's still one that we need to have. And companies look at that from a safety standpoint. I think if anybody's gone up and down 120, which we all have, I shouldn't say anybody, you have, see some of the Sunday fiascos down by Uncle John's, you know, the different, you know, that's where to me, you know, I didn't agree with MDOT that said we make these left turn lanes and then we increase the speed limit.
Yeah.
Okay, we just made the targets faster.
Yeah.
So it's just one of those. So that's one piece that I would say is a detriment to our area, but it's one that we work around it as best we can. We say, well, we still have divided highway, but it's one that we don't have limited access, which is one. We have good power prospects from that standpoint. We've had good relationships with consumers. They brought down a 138 kV line when we put in ZFS, which helped Ithaca in a big way. Alma, St. Louis has their own power supply, their own municipal one. They've got a good one there. We, for the most part, have a pretty good water system. The Galwa water system, which is the Gratiot Area Water Authority, that's gone together because of the EPA cleanup with the Velsico, St. Louis, has allowed us to have a much better water system in the north part of the county. Down in Ithaca now, I mean, there's extra new wells that have come in here. So our water supply is in relatively good shape. Ithaca is a little bit on the edge with the sewer standpoint. And frankly, we'd have to look at that if we had somebody that was a big water and sewer user to come through. But for, you know, the one thing we can tout ourselves is the middle of the state. And we tout ourselves, you know, and the other big thing that people look towards is what's your workforce. And that's a huge thing that we have. I mean, about our workforce is about a third. A third comes in, a third leaves, and a third stays here and works here. But we also talk about perimeter. And in larger cities, you can't draw a 60-mile circle around it because it'd be 3.5 hours to get from one side of Detroit to the other. And same thing starting to happen in Grand Rapids, just with traffic, where we can say, we can draw from employees from the west side of Saginaw over in there, Midland, Isabella, Clinton, Montcalm, and Saginaw will come this way to it. So we can build a number that we have to say that there's adequate employees, jobs that somebody would have to look at here. But just whenever we see them and we just have different conversations and get it down to more of a final stance, that's where you start getting in and what partnerships you have with your schools and community colleges and all these other type of things that we've worked towards that kind of help make it happen. So the answer would be, though, that we are going to have another piece of land one of these days because that other one's going to go. And then, you know, then Alma will almost have nothing. St. Louis will almost have nothing. You'll just have Breckenridge, which will have a piece, and then the South Park down here, which is good, but we're going to need more.
Right.
But we've done really well over the years of smaller companies. We've got many people that work within this county. They don't work for a company that has 1,000 employees, but there's a lot of them that work for a company that has 100 employees. And many of them.
Yeah.
I think what I've been seeing with this COVID is they're struggling. And most companies like your Avalons and your Apexes and Tridents and all, they're struggling trying to find people. That's the big thing we have right now is we've got a lot of small companies that are doing very well, Aircraft Precision. Name
You can name a bunch.
Gartool. I mean, you just legends. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Quality companies within Gratiot County that do a great job. And so I think the biggest problem that we have is employment, not unemployment.
It's
Trying to get people employed. That's the big thing.
Okay, anybody else? Well, thanks, Jim. We do appreciate the regular reports you give us too. You keep.
doing it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next, we're moving on to this resolution on the millage, and I know I have some questions on that. I guess probably, yeah, if you want to handle it or Bill. I'm just reading this resolution and Commissioner Bunning pointed it out to me. And I don't like the language. It says that we're leveling an additional property tax.
Yeah, we, matter of fact, we had that drawn by our law firm that worked with Past, and Casey emailed him as we were starting the meeting with it on it, and we could strike that.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Myself, I would suggest that it should say a property tax. Wouldn't that
It's
be proper?
A or an, it'll be whichever the two. Okay, yeah.
A, right? So if we make an A and then strike additional.
Correct.
Anybody have objections to any of that? Does that satisfy you, Commissioner Bunning?
Yes, I think it's very important to have the wording
Clear,
right,
clear.
especially, I think times are still good for us, but I think that we still have residents out there struggling to be able to pay bills and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the unknown too of coming in.
You need to value every property, every dollar you get from somebody and use it wisely.
Yes. And I think there's a big concern too about they're going to go up on the interest the 1st of March. I think everybody's very concerned about that.
Yeah, it's interest rates go up. I mean, we've lived a long time now with them all. It's going one way, and they will go the other direction. And when you start seeing high inflation, Fed's going to move rates, you just know it's going to happen. And so, I started a banking career that I think I worked 9 years in banking before I saw a single digit prime rate. Remember when it went to 9, I thought, I couldn't believe it. Now you went to 9, everybody'd have a double coronary. So yeah, Sam would be so busy now, you wouldn't know what to do with it. It really is a situation, but
I bought a lot of.
I don't think it'd be a good business plan though.
yeah, it's a,
Do you think it's going to jump very high? I'm hoping that it needs to go up, but not up.
well, if you watch the Fed and Jerome Powell, the head of the Fed, they're pretty open about what they want to do, and you're seeing guesses from 3 raises to 5 this year. But if you're talking a 1/4 point raise, it's not raising it immensely, but it's the psychological part of the thing. And then there's hope that we'll get our supply chains back where you don't have car lots full of cars down in Lansing with waiting on computer chips, and that we can get our whole supply line back going again. If we get that, I think that'll cool off some of the demand, hopefully show inflation drops back, and then that'll ease off on the concerns about interest rate movement. So, although I probably shouldn't be practicing being an economist, but I guess you can always be an economist because they say it and then whatever happens, happens. But that would be my guess, Jan. So
There's
they're going to go up, but I wouldn't be concerned about them going to the level that going to choke off the economy. I heard more than you want from me, so I'll set them with the wording on.
Yeah, anyone else have any questions on this proposed resolution?
That was my only concern on that.
All right,
Motion to.
yeah, we need a motion on it then.
I would make the motion to accept the resolution as
Amended,
amended. Yeah.
Okay. Motion by Commissioner Lemmerman. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Commissioner Bunting. Any discussion? Angie, is this one we need a roll call?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. When you're ready.
Casey, you'll give me the new resolution tomorrow morning. Okay, thank you. Commissioner Bunting,
Yes.
Commissioner Silverman,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy.
Yes. Motion passed. Next, we're up to the All Wars Memorial Lighting Project.
Yes,
Tracy, you're handling this?
yes, I am. Nancy Bozer is unable to attend this evening, so I agreed to present. She's made easy work of it, however, because her written materials really tell you, I think, all that you would want to know. But specifically, at a cost of $4,900, she wants to enhance the lighting at the All Wars Memorial outside here. This is to be paid from Fund 296, which is held by the county specifically for upkeep improvements and so forth of the memorial. There is no impact on the general fund. Your packet includes a diagram of where the light is to be added. She is asking you to approve that the work be done by Worthy Electric, which is the low quote and bid. And that's what she's after.
I'll make a motion that we approve to have the lights, extra lights put out there for $4,900 by Worthy Electric.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bunting. Do I have a second? Or support by Commissioner Bailey? Any discussion or questions? All those in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, nay? Motion passed. Next. Any unfinished business that anyone's aware of? And we're up to additional public comment.
Mr. Chair, we have a Mr. Brian Harrison who's on the line here that would like to make public comment. Mr. Harrison, are you ready to roll?
I am. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to virtually attend the Gratiot County Board of Commissioner meeting. I just wanted to take a few minutes. We were directed by Administrator Cordes. Thank you, Tracy, for your guidance and suggesting we speak to the board under public comment this evening. But I work with AdvisoCare Home Health Care. We're a home health and hospice company that works across Michigan. We work with those under Medicare, Medicaid, VA, work comp, and auto insurance. And I'm here just to mention some of the challenges that we've been currently facing under some of the auto insurance reimbursement changes from the 2019 Auto Insurance Reform Act. First and foremost, I do want to say that we're very much in favor of the changes that went into effect in 2019. Doing this work, we did see a lot of fraud and unfortunately families that were given the means to take advantage of an insurance system that set them up to do so. And so we're very much supportive of a lot of the changes that went into effect to, in fact, reduce car insurance rates for those drivers across Michigan. And we continue to be in favor of those changes. That being said, one challenge we are facing primarily as a home health care provider, similar to the work that the Medicaid systems do in Gratiot County, we also provide hourly care for individuals in the home, which is not covered under a regular Medicare benefit. As the 2019 Auto Insurance Act allows, we're now only able to reimburse or collect rather 45% of what we were charging in 2019 for those services that do not have a Medicare equivalent. So the hourly care, we work with those currently with an auto insurance related injury. Our fees for service are reduced by 45%. This means that if we send in a caregiver at a rate of $30 an hour, which we were doing on a regular basis in January of 2019 and even up to July of 2021, we're now being reimbursed around $16.50 for that same care that was delivered but 6 months ago. So we come to you just as seeking to draw awareness to this issue. We do believe it's one that was not intended by the state, but was just an oversight as some of the fees and reductions that were put in place to rein in some of the overcharging that in fact was occurring, but has certainly now affected negatively those that were charging fair and honest rates for their service that they were delivering to families needing home health care. As a result, we're not looking for the board to make any financial commitments of any kind or to even take a stance on which fix or solution could be one that the state adopts, but simply encouraging the board to consider a resolution, as several other counties have done, such as Alger in the Upper Peninsula, Oscoda, Oakland, and Wayne County, to urge the state, House, and Senate to look closer at this issue and ensure that families who have purchased now unlimited car insurance auto PIP policies are able to, in fact, receive care and service should they have a need that arises. This is also a topic and an issue that has affected those who have been injured previously to 2019 and those again now going forward. So I look forward to, in the hopes of being on the next board agenda or in the next committee of the whole or any other work meetings that you may have, just to continue to draw awareness to this issue in the hopes that it would stir some continued conversations with, again, amongst the board members and the community, as well as the state legislatures that we work with. So thank you again, everyone, for allowing me to speak publicly. I hope I didn't go over my time, and look forward to, again, speaking with you all again soon on this and being a resource now and in the future for the families that need home health care after an auto accident. Thank you.
All right, thank you for addressing the commission. Any other public comment?
We can give a quick update from Invenergy on the project.
Okay, great. Could you come forward? I got a big sign here that says, make sure everybody comes to the mic there.
We should really know that by now.
I would ask that, but for anyone who doesn't know me, I am Jory Fox. I work with Invenergy.
I'm Fred Short, also with Invenergy.
So we, as many of you know, are developing the proposed Heartland Farms wind project. It is expected to have 29 turbines in Gratiot County. So 27 of those planned for Newark Township and 2 turbines planned for North Star Township. We just wanted to give a quick update on the permitting process thus far. About 2 weeks ago, we did receive special land use approval in New Haven Township. And we have kicked off the permitting process in Fulton Township and also in North Shade Township. We had a positive meeting with them last night. We do not have a date yet set for the Gratiot County Planning Commission, but hoping to have that later this month. And really looking forward to bringing the community benefits to Gratiot County. And we welcome any questions along the way. Anything I missed?
Yeah, just to zoom out for a second, for those that are unaware, the project in total will have 72 turbines. 29 is the number that will come up to the county for approval in Newark and North Star Townships, as they are county zoned. But we also have 27 turbines planned in New Haven Township, a few in the top of Fulton Township, some in North Star Township, or North Star, North Shade Township, and then a few over in Washington as well.
That's our update. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, if no one has anything else, without objection, we're adjourned.